Thank you.
Okay, so let me just share who I am a little bit with all of you, just to orientate you. My name's Tim. I have been in the mortgage industry for over 30 years. I was a mortgage originator for 13 years, like all of you. I was always a mortgage broker. I had my own mortgage brokerage company. And I was very lucky to kind of figure this thing out a long time ago. In the sense that, I mean, you never really totally figure it out, but I mean, I was lucky enough to build my practice to levels to where I was ranked in the top 50 loan originators in the United States for 8 consecutive years, and had some really, really good years. My best year was my last year before I retired from doing mortgages, which was 2004, where I did 676 loans and a little over 235 million in production. Loan amounts were smaller back then than they are now. Kind of scary to think about what those units would have driven in the way of volume in today's world. But then again, we have inflation, so I'm sure that it would have all been eaten up by inflation anyway. So, uh, but after I started getting asked to, or after I started to gain some notoriety within the mortgage industry of best practices, people started asking me to speak. And I started speaking at some really large sales rallies for Wells Fargo and SunTrust and Washington Mutual and companies like that. And then I started this thing called the Loan Toolbox back in 2001, which Ricky was just referencing a little while ago. After I sold Loan Toolbox, I went back to school. I got a master's degree in spiritual psychology. And then I started about 4 years later my own private coaching practice, which I've been doing for 15 years now, believe it or not. It's my longest career, and it's my great love and something that I'm very grateful to be able to do for a living. Um, and along the way, over the last 15 years, I've coached some of the best loan originators in the United States. The price point in my coaching practice is not inexpensive; it's rather high, and it kind of only attracts top producers. And it is through the working with and becoming dear friends with many of these top producers, people like Josh Metal and Ryan Grant, Craig Strent, and Brent Hicks, and Caleb LeGrand, Tyler Osby, this formidable list of top producers, that I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot about today's market. I've learned what works, what's not working anymore, and I am a coach at heart. That's what I love to do. So today, what I want to do is I want to coach you. I mean, that's my great passion. I want to help you. I want you to walk away, hopefully learning some things that you can take back and implement. And implementation, of course, folks, is always the key. I mean, it's not what you know, it's what you do with what you know that really is where the rubber meets the road. Ricky has been kind enough to invite me to speak in front of you today, and my intention is again to add value. He's given me 5 questions to get us started. I don't know that I'll go through all 5 of them initially. I'll probably tackle a couple of them. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little pivot, and I'm going to teach you about what the loan atlas is, because I really believe all of you need to have it. We are seeing tremendous results from the people that do have access to the loan atlas. We have about 645 members of this online coaching platform that is continually growing and getting better. And I was sharing with Ricky before you all jumped on some of the things that we have in the works that I'm super excited about that are going to make the platform even more exceptional in the months ahead, but it's already great in its current state. And then what we're going to do is we're going to pivot back. We're going to do more Q&A coaching. I'll get through the remainder of the questions, and then I'm going to want you to ask me questions because I want to help you. And if this goes longer than an hour, it goes longer than an hour. I don't care. I have a call at 11 o'clock, but it doesn't matter. I already texted her and said I'm going to be late probably because I'm here to help you guys. That's what I love to do, and what God gave me the gifts to do, quite frankly. So that's what I love. So I want you to be present with me. And a lot of you have your cameras turned off, and I would really encourage you to turn them on and let's engage. I mean, this can be a very beneficial hour plus of time if you make it such, because I can only help you if I know what you need help with. So you asking me questions, you writing down questions as I go here, and then saving them for when it's time will be great. I would ask everybody to put yourself on mute for the time being so I'm not hearing any background noise, because I get locked in. I'm a pretty intense guy, and if I can be focused, I can be most on point for you. So with that said, let me go ahead and get started. Ricky, is there anything you want to say before we rock and roll here?
Yeah, I'm just so appreciative that you took the time to come on and do this. We got to, what started this was your podcast, by the way, which if it is the number one mortgage podcast that I've ever listened to, by the
Oh,
way.
thank you.
It's amazing.
I love doing it. So
He
thank you.
interviews these top producers that are just winning in any market, and it's so well done the way he questions these guys that you can get nuggets out of every single one. And I heard you with Dan Habib. He was on with these guys last week, and it was so needle. It was a big. It's probably the biggest needle mover podcast I've heard in a long time. That's what prompted me to say, "Hey, man, will you come on and talk to our group and help us?" Right? That's what started all this. And because 28 years knowing you, I knew you would just bring it. So thank you for being here from the bottom of my heart.
Ah, you're so welcome, and thank you for your kind words. And I love doing my podcast, and I'm going to make sure that Dan knows that our conversation together had an impact on you. Dan is a dear friend. He's a client of mine. He's in my coaching program, and we have a very close relationship. So let me get started. So again, Ricky has given me 5 questions. I'm going to tackle a couple of them right now before I demo the loan atlas for you and tell you a little bit about that. And then we'll get back to the other questions and then any that you have. So the first question that Ricky asks is, what are the top 3 behaviors that separate originators closing 40 million plus from those stuck at 8 to 10 million? And how can we implement those behaviors starting next week? Okay, so first of all, number one, okay, the common denominator of top originators that are doing 40 plus million. And I interview them on my podcast. I interview them to be potential clients of mine in my coaching company. And, I've been coaching for 15 years, so I know in excess of 100 people that are doing 40 plus million. And I did way more than that as well. And it doesn't matter if it's 20 years ago or if it's now. The number one character trait is this: loan originators that are not doing those numbers are too immersed in their files. They're processing their loans. And I want you to think about it for a minute, okay? I mean, how much do you pay a processor per hour to process loans? Somewhere in the neighborhood of $30 to $50, depending upon your market, on an hourly rate for a good processor. But if you want to make a $500,000 a year, or $750,000 a year, or 7 figures, over $1 million a year, and you calculate your hourly rate of pay. So let's just use some quick math. Let's say you want to make $1 million, and let's say you want to take 2 weeks off for vacation. Okay, so you're going to work 50 weeks. And let's say you want to work 50 hours a week. Okay, so that's 2,500 hours that you're saying that you want to work in the next 12 months, and you want to make $1 million. Okay, so we do the math on that. It's pretty simple math, I believe, which is 400 bucks an hour. You're saying, I want to make $400 an hour, but if you're in your loans doing the job of somebody who makes $30 to $50 an hour, how could you expect to make $400 an hour? You can't. Your time is incredibly valuable, and your hourly rate of pay, which, whether you've ever concluded this or not, you are paid by the hour. The difference is that you get to choose your hourly rate of pay based upon the activities that you choose to opt into. So, what I see far too frequently is originators that are doing, 6, 8, $10 million a year. It's like clockwork. They're processing too many of their loans. They're not talking to enough people that need to borrow money and people that can refer them to people that need to borrow money. At the end of the day, that is your ultimate job description. Just that. The way that I did 676 loans in 1 year was that I did only that. I talked to people who needed to borrow money, and people could refer me to people that needed to borrow money. And everything else was handled by my team and my system, my loan process, what I refer to as the perfect loan process. So I know that you're saying, yeah, but I don't have the staff, or I'm sharing a processor with somebody else. I get it. I've been there. Okay. But what comes first, the cart or the horse? I mean, at some point in time, you need to take that leap of faith, and you need to say, okay, if I had my own processor, or I had a great LOA that was handling all of the paperwork for me, that could pre-underwrite a file in an outstanding way, better than I could, that could break down tax returns, that could calculate income, that could lock my loans, all that kind of stuff. And I just got rid of all of that and trusted that if I had somebody that did all of that for me, and I got focused on one thing, which is doing money making activities, talking to people who need to borrow money and people who can refer me to people borrowing money. What would the result be? And I can tell you what the result would be because I've seen it dozens of times and I experienced it myself. If you truly backfilled all that free time you just created for yourself by offloading that to somebody who's exceptional and you went out and sold more, you would do more loans. So that's number one. Number two is I want to talk to you about your batting average. Okay. And I can't emphasize this part enough. I mean, at the end of the day, your success is entirely driven by your presentation skills, how you create authority at point of sale, how you articulate yourself, how you present your value proposition, and how you counter objections. And look, there's a finite list of objections. We've heard all of them, and you hear them over and over and over again. Your rate's too high, your fees are too high. I'm going to use my local credit union. I have an in-house lender at my real estate office who I'm using, or at the builder's office who they're using. You're at the plate, okay? You got a bat in your hand, okay? And that's the curveball they just threw you. Have you learned how to hit the curveball? Have you developed presentation skills to where you've countered all the objections before they can ever be expressed? Because if you do, you now have authority, which is what we're all looking for. Let me give you an example. Last August, and then last September, and then this February, you had three windows, three very brief windows where rates dropped. You got down to 6.25, 6.125, somewhere in that range on a 30-year fixed. There are loan originators who seized that opportunity, capitalized on it, and made a lot of money. There's an originator, as an example, with APM Mortgage. His name is Michael Belfer. He locked 17 loans in February. He jumped on the opportunity when it became available. There's another originator by the name of Eric Bible who locked in 33 loans in September. 33. Most of those were debt consolidation loans. Now, how did these guys, John Wade, another one that I can use as an example, who funded 22 loans in October, refis. Now, those windows of opportunity sometimes can be very brief, right? 5, 6 days, and then all of a sudden a new economic report comes out, rates spike, and you lost the opportunity. The question is, how many of those borrowers did you talk to that thought that they knew more than you? How many times did you hear, I think I'm going to wait. I read on the internet that rates are going to come down further. I read the Fed's going to lower 4 times in 2024, of which they didn't. How many times did somebody say that to you? They paused, they waited, and then rates spiked back up, and they didn't save money. But the question that you need to be asking yourself in this scenario that I'm painting is, why are they telling me that they need to wait when I'm telling them it's time to act? And the answer is very simple. They think they know more than you. And that's information. All that is information for you to take a step back and say, okay, wait a minute. What am I not saying here to establish authority to where they trust me as an authoritative figure that knows more than them and that knows more than the media? See, this is what I'm talking about when I say presentation skills. The great originators, back to Ricky's question, the ones that are doing 40 plus million and more, are the ones that have their presentation so dialed in that when they talk to a borrower who's thinking about buying a home, but they're not sure if now is the right time to buy, they present the loan scenario and the investment opportunity in such a way to where they decide it does make sense for me to move forward. Because when rates drop, inventory is going to be even tighter. There's going to be multiple offers. Prices are going to go up when rates drop. They know how to present themselves. So having these skills to improve your batting average, I just want you to think about it. I'm going to give you just a simple, basic number. Let's say you get 20 leads a month, okay? And let's say you can improve your batting average by 10% versus what it is right now. You get 2 extra people every single month to say yes to you that you're not getting right now because you have better scripting, you have better wisdom, you have better authority, you have more confidence in yourself in the way that you articulate yourself. And let's just say you make $3,000 for every loan that you do, We're talking about $72,000 right there, if I'm doing the math correctly. $6,000 a month times 12, just by getting 10% more. The top originators have really high batting averages. At the peak of my career, and this is going to be a shocking number to you, my batting average was 92%. A little bit more than 9 out of every 10 people that I talked to said, yes, let's move forward. Now, some of that had to do with where I was getting the referrals from, right? So I was pre-sold, but that's a part of the equation too. How are you creating authority with your referral partners and your past client database to where they are advocates of you and they refer you in the way that you want to be referred so you come pre-sold? This is also a part of the art of being an incredibly effective originator. And again, I know a lot of them that have mastered this art, and that's why they do the big numbers. Um, and then the final thing is you got to have a system that you can trust. Without it, you're going to have fear. So when I say a system that you can trust, the toughest question that you'll ever get asked, and I remember very vividly getting asked this question numerous times, especially by the people that were like the doctors and the engineers who were very analytical. Okay, they would say, "Why you? Why should I work with you? I mean, what's the reason that I should have you do my loan?" And I remember feeling super uncomfortable in my skin when I would get asked that question. I'd be like stuttering and stammering a little bit. This is early in my career, and I'd be like, "Well, I mean, you're backpedaling, okay? Because they're hitting you right between the eyes with the toughest question." It wasn't until which time I developed the perfect loan process, a system for facilitating loans at the highest degree of customer service, with the highest degree of efficiency, that I then no longer had to sell me. I could sell my system. And this is where people that have developed this system of customer service and facilitating loans have created a very strong competitive edge for themselves. People would ask me that question after I had the PLP, and I'd say, gosh, Ricky, I'm really glad you asked me that question. I mean, the truth is this. I only do a few things really well. I'm really good at understanding the financial markets. I understand how to explain loan programs to people and help them make the best financial decision for them and their family. And then I'm really good at managing debt. My job really just begins when your first loan closes with me. From there, it's my job to assist you in managing the largest indebtedness that you'll ever take on in your life. I want you to think of it as me being the guy that manages the debt side of your balance sheet. You have a financial advisor who manages your assets. And then if you have somebody skilled like myself, I manage your debt and I proactively make you aware of opportunities where cheaper money are made available going forward into the future. The reality is that most people that do what I do for a living, Ricky, are a jack of all trades and a master of very few. And I have an unfair competitive advantage over my competition. I have an amazing team of people, and we have developed an amazing system. And I'm certain that if we were to work together, you would find that the efficiency and the customer service platform that we provide is unlike anything that you've ever experienced before. And we're going to take all the headaches out of the equation and make this very easy on you. That's a much easier sell for me. I'm selling my team and my system rather than having to sell me. Okay, so that's the three things. And there's more. I mean, you could have asked me, Ricky, what are the 20 things that create the difference between a producer that does 6 to 8 million versus 40 plus? But those are the first three things that come to mind. All right, next. What's the most powerful mindset shift or routine that you teach top producers to help them stay focused and consistent, even when volume is low or rates are volatile? Okay. So let's first address the fundamental problem behind this question. The fundamental problem is refinance markets. Okay, because when we're in a refi market like we were in 2020, 2021, 2022, it creates lazy loan originators. Okay, it's too easy. We go out into our backyard and we pick, $100 bills off of our tree. I mean, they're just falling from the sky. Okay, and we forget that this is at its fundamental core a business that requires relationships and it requires time. It requires patience. Relationships are not built in a moment, they're built over time. Trust is built over time to where people become an advocate of yours. The problem with a refi market is that our measuring stick, and those of you that were in the business 3 years ago, remember this, our measuring stick becomes locks. We get really fired up. We get the the adrenaline hit when we're locking in. I locked in another one today. I locked in four today. I locked in three today. And that becomes our new normal of thinking of, and from a mindset perspective, we get our hit, our adrenaline rush, and our satisfaction and our worth in ourselves based upon how many loans we locked. And then the market changes. Now, the most important battle that any of us, me included, will ever wage, and we wage it every day, is the one that takes place between the ears. Our mind is powerful. Our mind is constantly scanning, trying to create control and trying to create safety for us. Okay. We fall into this mental rhythm during a refi boom of I'm locking loans, I'm doing good. I'm looking at my pipeline report. I'm going to have a great month and I'm going to have a great month after that. And I'm going to be banking money. Then the market changes. And all of a sudden, we're scared. Everything that we were measuring our success by no longer is effective because if we're looking at it through the lens of how many loans we locked every week, we're going to feel defeated. And then we go into a mental tailspin. And I'm not sure how much longer I can do this for. And this is hard. This is more difficult than I expected it to be. This isn't like it was. And we complain and we become a victim and all of these wicked things that take place between the ears. This constant conversation we're having with ourselves all day long. You have 60 to 80,000 thoughts every day. Every one of us does. And 90% of those thoughts we had yesterday and the day before and the day before that. So if we're fixated on locks, we're fixated on the wrong thing when the market shifts. We need to fixate ourselves on things that we can control. Momentum is very important. We need to have small victories. Small victories are what create momentum, put bounce in our step, and keep us going. So, what we need to shift our focus to are the things that we can control. And things that we can control are things like the number of calls that I made today. Like what if you rewarded yourself for every day that you made 20 phone calls, as an example, or 10 phone calls, or whatever the number is? What if you decided, I'm not looking at locks anymore, I'm looking at calls. I'm looking at valuable communications, the number of connections that I made this week, the number of people that I met with in person over a coffee appointment or over a lunch appointment. The activities that you control are where you need to be focused on. A dear friend of mine, Josh Burris, who's on the Loan Atlas faculty in my podcast interview, said something very powerful. This is a couple of years ago now, when the market was just really starting to get nasty. And he said, what I've chosen to focus on is my physical health because I can control that. So he started to eat cleaner. He started to work out more consistently. He started to measure his sleep via his Aura ring. And he decided that that's what I'm going to focus on every day. I'm not focusing on locks. I'm going to focus on this. Yes, he's still going to do his job, but he's going to make sure that every day is a win, which leads me to my last point. You've got to start your day with wins. So effective loan originators get up very early, I find. They're not the ones who roll into the office at 9:30. Okay. They're not the ones who stay up late and have a couple of cocktails and to knock themselves out and they go to bed at 11:30 at night. They have a strong morning routine. They get up at between 4 and 5 a.m. They start, and your morning routine could be anything that you want it to be. It's like whatever resonates for you is all that I care about. But it could be prayer, it could be meditation, it could be yoga, it could be journaling, it could be reading a book that is a personal development book. They start off their day with positive energy structure. Okay. So those first couple hours are precious. When everything is quiet, nobody's texting you, you're not reacting to anything, your nervous system is chilled out because it's not amped up because everybody coming at you. Okay. And then they get one thing done every day before their day gets crazy that moves the needle. Whatever that is for you, preparing a presentation for a realtor lunch and learn. It could be, working on your scripting. It could be designing your perfect loan process. It could be calling 3 past clients from your database every single morning between 8 and 9 to say hello, but making sure that no matter what, by 9 a.m., you've gotten at least one thing done that's really powerful and impactful on your business. So today is a win. No matter what happens starting at 9 a.m., no matter how many appraisals got cut, no matter how many borrowers grinded you on the interest rate and beat you down, you can still reflect back on that day and anchor into one thing that you got done that's going to move the needle. And then in closing, at the end of the day, doing an inventory of your day is very important. Looking back on the things that you did that day that were powerful and impactful and moving and motivating. Okay. So really controlling what's going on between here is important. There's a gentleman by the name of Jim Jurgens, who's a Loan Atlas member, who is also in my coaching company um, as a client. And one of the key things for him, he had a very successful year in my coaching program. One of the key things for him was his morning routine. He started off every day, he had a commitment to reach out to 3 people every single day via text and say something motivating to them, to lift them up. Checking it, Dan Habib being one of them, who they were in the same group together. Dan had a weight loss goal. So you check in with Dan every morning. How you doing, stud? How'd you eat last night? Did you get your workout in? Did you do your infrared sauna? Why did he do this? Because he felt good about himself. Every single day, he reached out and lifted 3 people up, which made him feel good about him. Now, what's the energy he's bringing into his work environment when he feels good about himself because he took care of 3 people every morning and inspired them in some emotional way? If you give some love and some connection and some inspiration to people, you're going to feel good about yourself. Okay, let me take one more question here, and then we'll probably shift over to doing a demo of the Loan Atlas, and then we'll get to your questions. If you had to rebuild your database and referral network from scratch in 2025, what exact steps would you take over the next 30 days to start generating deals fast? Okay. The first thing that I would do, like I'm starting at ground zero here, is I would take 2 steps back and I would develop a script, a presentation around what I do for a living and the value that I bring. Here's my value proposition. One of the things that I do really well is that I manage people's indebtedness for them. I manage a very effective database. I stay in connection with them. I'm constantly seeking opportunities to help them improve their existing financial structure. It could be debt consolidation. It could be helping them buy an investment property. It could be educating them on how to build an ADU in their backyard so they can move their in-laws in or rent it out and make some income. And certainly it could be about consolidating debt and looking for opportunities to reduce the cost of the existing debt that they currently have. So at first I would develop the presentation. It might sound something like that, the value proposition that I bring. And then I would reach out to everybody I know. Look, your network, I should say, is your net worth. Your network is your net worth. Okay, you know a lot of people. Everybody on this call knows a lot of people. I'd be reaching out to them and asking for help, which can be hard to do for some people, right? It's a humbling experience. Say, can you help me? But there's a very important question. So I have another client of mine. Her name is Pinky, and she's also a Loan Atlas member. And Pinky is probably the most giving person I've ever met. I mean, this woman, like, throw her on a copy machine and distribute her to every country in the world, and the world's a better place. I mean, she is just a spectacular human. Lovely, lovely person. But she has a hard time asking for help. And I said to her in a coaching session, I said, let me ask you a question. I said, what do you feel when you help somebody? Describe it to me. And she went through it was very easy for her. Oh, gosh, my heart feels so full. I just love helping people. I love putting a smile on people's face. I love service. Service is my thing. It's just what makes life worth living. And I said, all right, I'm going to hit you between the eyes. Why are you robbing people from the opportunity to do that for you? Every time you hold back and you don't ask for help, you're stealing from them the opportunity to help you and have that feeling that you just described to me that you have every time you get an opportunity to serve and help someone else. So I want you to remove that limiting belief from your consciousness that you reaching out to your social network and asking them to help you. Can you introduce me, please, to some real estate agents that you know? Who's your accountant? Would you mind setting up a coffee for me to get together with them to learn a little bit more about their practice and how I might be able to refer business to them? Or your financial advisor, or your life insurance agent, or just your friends? Like, who do you know that owns a home that might benefit from me understanding their mortgage structure and then watching it for them on a go-forward basis to see if I can find opportunities to help them in their life? So that's what I would do just to get started. I would also join networking groups. Craig Strent, who's the head of faculty for the Loan Atlas, a brilliant teacher and an amazing man. I mean, that's where he made his living. This guy funded over $100 million in production, 11 years, 11 different years he funded over $100 million in production. He did it all through networking groups. He joined networking groups in the Washington, D.C. area, political groups, social groups, and he volunteered. He offered to be a part of committees and he got to know the people. And then when rates were ripe, everybody was coming to him and asking him for business. But now is the time to plant the seeds that will harvest later on. And again, it takes time, folks. I mean, relationships take time. And like go back to what I said earlier. I mean, the problem with the refi boom is it's too easy and we think that's the normal, but it's not. The normal is right now, and real loan officers are made in this market. Okay. This is where real loan originators are made because you develop the foundation. So when rates drop, everything explodes. All right. What I'm going to do is this. I'm going to bounce over to sharing my screen. And I want to show you something that I think that you all need to have. It is called the Loan Atlas. Now, let me explain to you what the Loan Atlas is real quick before I go off camera and demo it for you. So the Loan Atlas is a virtual coaching platform. It is backed by the finest and most giving faculty of teachers that this industry has ever assembled. There are 21 of us, and we've funded over $29 billion in production in our career. So a lot of people that have paved the path before you, and the whole foundation of Loan Atlas is let's just give them everything we got. Like let's teach them everything that we know. Let's help them in any way that we can. Now, there are currently three pillars to the Loan Atlas, and it's constantly evolving. So there'll be more in the future. We're working on some things behind the scenes that are going to make it even better. There are the live coaching calls. There are 7 of them every month. You're never more than a week away from your next coaching session taught by this faculty that I referenced. There is the evergreen content. So there are over 200 educational classes contained within the Loan Atlas on every topic that you can think of. And I'm going to show you some of those topics in a moment. So over 200 classes, over 50 hours of highly produced educational content. And we're not just talking about YouTube videos. We're talking about the educational classes that come with the slide deck for you to go do that presentation in a realtor's office, or they come with the script that you can print and study to help counter that objection, the perfect loan process in its documented format, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, it's a treasure trove of a lot of content. And then the third part of it is the community. So like-minded people that do what you do for a living that are helping each other, communicating with each other in the community forums. So let me go ahead and do this. I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to put it on sound so you can hear some of these videos. And let's start here. Can you see my screen, Ricky? You're on mute,
Yes.
Greg.
Yep,
Okay,
you're good to
cool.
go.
Okay, so this is the members' homepage of the Loan Atlas, and this is the scrolling banner ad of all of the current events and new content that has been put into the platform, and we're constantly updating it all the time. Okay, so let's talk about the live coaching sessions. Okay, every single week we have office hours. This week's office hours is with a superstar producer by the name of Katrinka Condi out of Salt Lake City, Utah. She's in my coach. All these people are in my coaching program, so I know them all intimately. She is incredible at scripting. She's a powerhouse that does $70 million a year in production. She's only been an originator for 6 years. She's a superstar. She'll be hosting office hours this Wednesday. You Zoom in. She's there for you. You pick her brain. You ask her questions. You usually have somewhere between 30 and 50 people that show up for office hours every single week. And Katrinka's there to coach you. Okay. Every week you have office hours. So that's 4 of the calls every single month. Next, currently we have a series happening right now called the Surge series. It's 4 consecutive weeks. Okay. So there's more than 7 calls this month, 4 consecutive weeks where Craig Strent is bringing in faculty members to talk about very specific topics. The next one is on June the 12th with Josh Burris and Brent Hicks. I mean, these two guys are like absolute superstars. Brent Hicks actually did over 1,000 loans one year back in like 2006. Okay. So, I mean, this guy knows how to do business. And he's also one of the top leaders for American Pacific Mortgage. And Josh Burris is a superstar in the builder space. So every single week for these next 4 weeks, we're having a Surge Series call. And then the final Friday of every month is me. So I'm in for 90 minutes coaching you. My next talk to Tim live is at 11:30 a.m. Pacific time on June the 27th. You Zoom in with your questions. I answer them for you. And what I want to emphasize with all these calls, you always end up learning something from somebody else's question. Somebody asks a great question that you weren't thinking about, and the answer from the coach is something that really benefits you. So I would recommend, if you become an Atlas member, that you attend all these calls. Okay, now these events are recorded. So first of all, here are all the events for June. Okay. And this is in the events, current events, upcoming events page. And then here are the event replays. And this goes all the way back since to inception. So they're all there in a library for you to watch. So for instance, I'll go back to the very beginning because I think this one was particularly great. Mark Bowie has 75,000 followers on Instagram and does 3 to 5 loans a month from his Instagram account. This is a masterclass that he created for the Atlas members on exactly what he does to generate the following that he has, how he writes his reel scripts, what camera equipment he uses, what days of the week he shoots, the whole 9 yards. In February of 2024, Tyler Osby, the top producer in the country for Fairway Independent Mortgage, taught a masterclass on lunch and learns for real estate agents. We had Builder Masterclass with Josh Burris and Caleb Legrand, two superstars that own the builder space in their respective markets. And then you have the follow-up implementation workshop to these masterclasses as well. So there are a ton of live events for you to tap into and learn from on a consistent basis. Now, I mentioned that the second pillar is these 200 plus classes and over 50 hours of content. I want to orientate you. This is built upon a model that I created called, it's like scaling a mountain. So there are 8 disciplines to origination mastery. So discipline number 1 is essential knowledge. Okay, this is how to structure loans, how to, different loan products, reverse mortgages, the financial markets, et cetera. I mean, this is the foundation of what you need to understand to have the confidence to present effectively and to create authority at point of sale. There are 19 classes, and I'll show you what these classes look like in a minute. 19 classes in essential knowledge. Discipline number 2 is a system for selling. There are 59 classes under a system for selling. These are all the objections that you get. This is how you present yourself at point of sale. This is how to counter those objections, how to present to realtors, accountants, financial advisors, and to borrowers. Discipline number 3 is marketing mastery, marketing to your database, marketing to the consumer direct, marketing to realtors, marketing to accountants, marketing to financial advisors, etc., and social media marketing. There are 33 classes in marketing mastery. Discipline number 4 is team and leadership excellence. This is how to build your team and architect your team and to build a culture, how to hire effectively, how to do your weekly check-ins or your monthly check-ins with your employees, how to hold your team meetings effectively, taught by several teachers, and there are a bunch of classes on that. Discipline number 5 is systems, and in particular, systems of customer service. This is where the perfect loan process is housed. The perfect loan process is the single most important thing that I ever did for my business, and I've watched so many originators over the years implement this and have their business explode. Discipline 6 is freedom and legacy. Okay, this is how to create an annuity income. This is how to start to transition out of your business. This is how you invest your money effectively and to earn residual income from properly investing. And Josh Metal teaches a lot of classes on this. He's brilliant in this category. And then there are 2 personal disciplines that we kind of consider to be your Sherpas along the way that help guide you up the mountain. Personal discipline number 1 is mindset, health, and personal development. This is my passion project. This is the stuff that I teach with a great degree of enthusiasm. This is the battle between your ears and how to win that battle. And there are a ton of classes on that. And then finally, personal discipline number 2 is time and task management. How to avoid chasing shiny objects, how to stay on task, how to manage your time effectively, how to manage your calendar effectively, etc. So these are the evergreen classes. Now, let me show you how they're laid out. If I go to if I go to discipline number 2, a system for selling, I preloaded the Dreams and Goals call from Ryan Grant. Ryan Grant's one of the great teachers in this country. I mean, he's a superstar originator, former originator that did well over 100 million, many different years, and he's a terrific teacher. This particular class is 28 minutes and 24 seconds. I want to orientate you to how the content is distributed. So you have the summary of this class. Here's what you're going to learn from Ryan when you watch for these 24 minutes. Here's the transcript, time coded out of exactly what he says. So you can print it, you can study it, you can highlight it. Here are the learning documents where you would take your notes and you would log your insights, your ideas, your next actions. Here are the success scripts. In this particular case, there are several scripts that he lays out here as to what he says when he's consulting with a borrower at point of sale. And this is the exact script for you to print. Here are the support documents. He has the initial and annual financial review document that is associated with this. He gives you the exact document for you to use, so you don't have to try to figure this out yourself. And then finally, you can complete the lesson by taking the 5-question assessment quiz. So every one of these 200 plus trainings has a video. I'm going to put this on speed listen a little bit just so it doesn't take as long. And we're not going to watch anywhere near the whole thing. We'll watch about 1.5 minutes of it, but this will just give you a feel for the content.
The Dreams and Goals call is one of, if not the most important calls you're going to have with your clients in the entire journey of your client relationship. As many of you probably know, the average mortgage professional handles an incoming client like this. Client calls and says, I was referred to you by so-and-so, I need to get a mortgage. The loan officer asks a few quick questions and says, do me a favor, fill out my online application. So they send them to do homework, and then they tell them what documents they're going to need. And then they're going to then get those documents. The loan officer will then do the pre-approval, calculate income, do all the work, and then ultimately give them a pre-approval letter, sending them out into the world. Whenever we talk to clients who have been pre-approved, we always ask them that question. We say, hey, have you ever been pre-approved before? And they go, oh yeah, I've been pre-approved here or there. And I say, well, let me take a shot at how that went. And I just explain that entire process. And they go, yeah, that's pretty much how it went. And my next comment is, look, I'm really sorry that happened. And the client says, well, what are you sorry about? And I said, well, that's just someone who's interested in selling you a loan. Right? If they were really interested in your family's long-term financial success, if they're interested in helping you save money and increase the likelihood of getting your offer accepted, if they're interested.
Okay, so you can see just the quality of the content is outstanding. Let me show you another example. This is turning real scripts into social media content by Mark Bowie.
$30 or $50 on Amazon. And then finally, you gotta have good lighting. Now I'm shooting indoors. If you are gonna be shooting indoors, you wanna make sure you have good window lighting. Right now we have window lighting in front of me. I have fluorescent lighting coming from above my head. And if you're gonna be shooting outdoors, make sure you're shooting in the shade. A common mistake that a lot of people do, they shoot in direct sunlight, and that can be very harsh on your skin. It can be very harsh around the eyes. You see oftentimes when people create content outdoors, they're in direct sunlight, they have the shadow underneath their eyes. You don't want that. You want to be in the shade, you'll get beautiful lighting that way. Without further ado, let's begin. So once you guys have your equipment and your lighting dialed in, your scripts are ready to shoot, it's time to determine what shooting style you're going to be going for. Now, one of the most common styles.
Again, you can see the professionalism behind it. And then finally, the perfect loan process. I just want to show you this because I want you to see how much we really give you here. So the actual support document here is the perfect loan process, which is the entire 73 steps from the time that someone interacts with you for the first time until 30 days after the loan closes, and every step that needs to take place between those 2 points to ensure that at the end of the deal, that client is coming back and they're referring people to you. Every loan that you do is a zero-sum game. They're either thrilled or they're not. And that's what this process creates for you. I'll show you the video real quick and then we'll move on.
The important steps that I've highlighted. Now, additionally, I want to make sure that you understand that this is the way my team was structured.
I want you to see how I
not
walk
deviate
you
too
through the
severely
process
from this type of structure. And let's take a look now at the first highlighted step, which is step number 2. Notice that all 4 columns have a check in their boxes. The check is to indicate who is responsible for this task. So in this particular case, in step number 2, the entire team is responsible for this task. And let me read it to you. Team is sold by every team member at each step of the process. Team members support each other's efforts when speaking to borrowers. This should happen throughout the process. It is critical. This needs to be a part of the team mantra. This needs to be a part of your culture. You always.
Okay. So again, in closing, that's pillar number 2 of of the Loan Atlas, which is all these educational classes. Now, you may be saying to yourself at this point, like, wow, that's like a lot, 200 videos and these 7 live calls. So that's why I've created the learning paths. And this is going to improve radically with artificial intelligence very soon. But what we have for you right now is this. Let's just hypothetically you say, I want to generate more leads and strategies for doing it. You click on that, you hit continue. And what it does is it creates the learning path titled The Rainmaker. You go to that learning path and the site sorts all of its content and puts it into a sequential learning path for you. So that should pop up here in just a second. And here we go. And here are all the classes that you would want to stay focused on so you're not chasing shiny objects and looking at content that isn't conducive to one topic here, which is generating more leads. And these are all of the trainings associated with that. And we do this for several other components of the process. Finally, we have the community. This is a vibrant community of loan originators all over the country, sharing ideas, supporting each other, helping each other find homes for loans, structure loans, sharing slide decks with each other. So you get a lot of coaching from your peers, and there are a lot of active members of this community that are doing it in the right way. So in closing, let me just share the price, and then we're going to get back into your Q&A. Let me just tell you how this is going to work. Ricky has negotiated an exceptionally low price for all of you if we hit certain numbers. So we need 13 people to sign up for the Atlas. The Atlas normal, okay, let's just talk about coaching. So like if you go hire a coach, not me, I'm actually more expensive than this, but if you go hire a coach that works for my company, they're going to charge you, $15,000 to coach you for a year. Okay. And you're going to get 2 one-hour coaching sessions every month, and it will be one-on-one. And hopefully this coach has some experience. Hopefully they've done loans before. Hopefully they have resources, scripts, marketing materials, all that kind of stuff to support you on your journey. And you're going to get 24 calls, 24 hours worth of calls for 15,000. The Loan Atlas is significantly less than that. It's $349 a month or $3,490 for the year. Both of them are a 1-year contract. Okay. But if you pay it all up front, you get 12 months for the price of 10. Okay. Here's the deal for you. If we can get 13 people to sign up for the Atlas, your price will be $1,490 up front or $149 per month. So a radical discount. I mean, that's like 57% discount or something like that. I mean, we're talking about less than one loan here. Like if you can't get a loan from having access to all of this great education and all of the support that's being provided, then there's definitely something wrong. I can, assure you that as long as you are engaged, you're going to get more than one loan. Like I said, Michael Belfour locked in 17 loans in February just with the refi strategy that we taught him. If we can get to 25, and I realize we only have 24 people on the call, so that might be tough unless somebody signs up twice. But if we could get to 25, I can get it down to $129 a month for all of you. So the way we're going to do this is that if you want to have the Loan Atlas for $149 a month, then you just need to put it in the chat box right now. You just need to say, we'll see your name, just say I'm in. We'll total it up. We'll know where we're at. Ricky and I will take an accounting of it. We'll know whether that hits the price target that we need to be at. If we don't get to 13, okay, then it'll be $249 a month. So just to recap, up to 13, I'm going to discount it from $349 a month to $249 a month. If we can get to 13, we'll be at $149 a month. If we can get to 25, we'll be at $129 a month. Now what I'd like to do is open it up to questions. I'm checking the time here. We're at 5 minutes till the top of the hour. I'm willing to stay for longer if you guys want to hang out with me and have me coach you. That's what I love to do. I've got a couple more questions from Ricky, but I'd actually first like to start by taking your questions. Your questions can be about the Loan Atlas if you'd like them to be, or your questions could be about anything that you're dealing with in your business right now that you need help with. So, please raise your hand. You can use that icon button, and I'm happy to take your question. Yes, Drake, fire away, bro.
Okay, so my ears perked up when you
I'm having a little bit of a tough time hearing
Yeah,
you.
we can't hear you, bud.
My bad, it was up. Okay, so my ears perked up when you said that you went to school for spiritual psychology.
Yep.
So I've been really into philosophy for a while, but to stay on track. So I'm young and I'm new in the business. How do I get around the perception of being young and still create authority
Mm.
and create a solid reputation? Because I'm basically starting from ground zero.
Yeah, I used to deal with that too. I started when I was 25. How old are you? Can't hear you, bro.
21, sorry.
21. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Might need to lie a little bit, actually, first of all. I mean, 21's pretty young.
Yeah.
What I used to tell realtors, I used to run in this situation more with realtors than I would with borrowers. So first of all, what you may want to consider is your first interaction with a client, maybe you do it on the phone so they can't see how young you are, right? So you have the opportunity to establish some authority with them in just an initial dialogue. You're going to need to focus on mastering the technical aspects of this business. You need to be able to talk the financial markets. That's super important. You need to be able to display your wisdom as it relates to financial advice, explaining and being able to articulate to them why rates move, that it's not just about the Fed, that it's the trading of mortgage-backed securities, that's based upon the economic data that's coming out. And to really explain to them, kind of the history of interest rates. I mean, this is where you're going to need to establish your authority is in that technical wisdom. Okay. When it came to real estate partners and meeting with them, I would address the situation head on. I'd be like, hey, look, I know that I look young, but the reality of it is this, is that I have more experience in the short period of time that I've been in this business that people that that have been in the business for 10 years. In your case, it's your dad, right? So like you can use your dad as a point of reference. I grew up hearing about this stuff when I was eating a bowl of Cheerios at my kitchen table on a Saturday morning. I mean, I lived in an environment, and my father, I have him as my mentor. I'd be selling him and displaying your wisdom on a consistent basis. But what I'm not a fan of, by the way, is not addressing the purple elephant in the room. You're young. It is what it is. Let's address it. Let's get it right out there on the table. I'd be coming out with it as a part of my presentation, because the thing is that if you're waiting for them to ask you, and this applies to all of you in other areas, if you're waiting for somebody to ask you the tough question, once they ask you the tough question, what position are you in now? A defensive or an offensive position?
Defense.
That's right.
Defensive
Now
for
you're
sure.
having to defend and justify your existence, right? And that's never fun for anybody, no matter how good we are at sales. I mean, it's going to be tough for you to defend. Oh, well, but I'm really not that young. But if you're bringing it up and making it a part of your presentation, okay, you're giving yourself the opportunity to frame it in the way that is the way you want to frame it. So it would sound something like, and I'm spitballing here. I mean, I haven't had any time to think about this. So let me have some time. And when we see each other in Vegas, maybe I'll come up with something else. But I would probably be starting off by saying, hey, look, the first thing I want to address is that how lucky I am. My father has been in this industry for 30 years. And he's extremely well educated and he's very successful. And he has been a part of many coaching companies. And I grew up around this stuff. I mean, I've been an apprentice of his since I was a teenager. I've been learning about this business for a very long time. And I really am grateful that I have an opportunity to take all of this knowledge that I've accumulated over these years from learning from my father and to be able to bring it to my clients and referral partners. And then I would roll into my whatever part of my script that was articulating the financial markets and those types of things, right? To establish that authority and to impress. But don't wait for them to bring it up. Get out in front of it and spin it positive. You have that to your advantage, which is the relationship with your dad.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Who's next? What do you need help with? I can help you with probably just about anything. I mean, I've been doing this for a very long time.
I'll
So Chuck,
I'll
fire
speak
away,
up
bro.
for a moment.
Yeah, go for
I
it.
would say mostly need the help of is getting out of the minutia. Spending so much time working with each client. Like over the weekend, I had a client needed a pre-qual right away, and of course, it's never an easy one on the weekend, right? You're trying to get it done. So lots of income to go over, but not set up where I have, four assistants that can jump in and take care of that stuff. I'm taking care of it.
Okay,
On top
great
of everything
question.
else.
This is a perfect example of somebody asking a great question that everybody's going to benefit from. So thank you, Chuck, very much for bringing this up. There's a simple formula here that I want everybody to understand, and it's really important. To eliminate reactivity, be proactive. What do I mean by that? Anytime you're reacting, what you're describing is a situation where you're reacting. It's your Saturday, you're with your family, and all of a sudden a client needs a pre-approval letter from you because they want to write an offer. That's what I'm hearing you say, correct? Okay, so you're reacting, but you could eliminate that reaction by being proactive. So the question that I would have for you, Chuck, is this. Why would you not provide a pre-approval letter to the client after you talk to them for the first time? Like, so they have it, so they don't need to bother you with it. Why are you not doing that? Or are you doing that? You look confused. Take yourself off mute. You're on mute, bro.
All right. I didn't even know about the client till Saturday, so I couldn't have.
Okay, so the client called. Okay, I apologize. So
Right.
the client called you for the first time on a Saturday.
Yeah, agent called me and said, "Hey, reach out. We need to, get these folks pre-approved.
Yeah.
They want to put an offer in by tomorrow."
Yeah. When did the agent meet the client?
That's a good question. Not too far before that.
At least a day before
I think
it?
it was a client. Yes, something like that. I don't know.
Okay.
I can't be
So
exact. I'm not
so
sure.
this is where you need to coach your agents. Okay. So look, if I'm going to do my job most effectively for you, I'm going to role play with you. You're the agent now, Chuck. Okay, Chuck, I really value our relationship. And I'm really grateful for the opportunity to work together. And I want to do the best job that I possibly can for you because my job is to make you look good. And the last thing in the world that I want to have happen is this, is that you've got a client on a Saturday and you're showing them property and you want to reach out to me and I'm at my kid's softball game or my son's football game, or I'm on, a lunch date with my wife, or, God forbid, I'm out of town for a couple of hours or whatever it is, and you can't get a hold of me. That's not the kind of service that I want to be providing you with. So one of the things that's critically important is this. First of all, it's my job, and I want everybody to hear this. This is like super important scripting. It's my job to make you look good. And one of the things that I'm aware of is that when you refer somebody to me for the first time, there are some things that I need to do to edify you as their agent. I'd like you to share with me, what are the things that you would like me to say about you that you're uncomfortable saying about yourself because it would sound as if you're being arrogant? Teach me your value proposition. When somebody calls me for the first time, one of the first things that I need to be saying, Chuck, is, how did you meet Chuck as your real estate agent, by the way? Congratulations. I mean, he's absolutely terrific at what he does. I've been working with him for several years. I've seen him negotiate contracts. He's really wonderful at it. He really knows the market. He has access sometimes to pocket listings. I mean, you're really fortunate to be working with him. I need to be saying these things about you to cement the relationship for you and for us. We need to be working as a team as effectively as possible. But it's incumbent upon you, Chuck, to make sure that when you talk to a client for the first time, you're immediately getting them over to me. Because the last thing in the world that I want to have happen is you can't get a hold of me for a couple hours because it's a weekend. And now I'm not making you look good. And I always want to make you look good. So let's talk about the scripting that we need to have of when you talk with a client for the first time, how you immediately tee me up. And oh, by the way, would you mind, Chuck, if I shared with you some things that I would like you to say about me? After you've first shared with them that you want to know what they would like you to say about them, you now have the right to then script them as to how you want them to refer you. Okay. So now I'm going to say to you, look, here's what I would like you to do. What I'd like you to say to them is, look, I work in partnership with my lending professional. And one of the things that's really important in today's marketplace is that we turn you into a cash buyer as soon as possible, because it's a very competitive environment out there. And we wouldn't want to lose out on a property that you found that you felt was good for you and your family. So the very next thing you do as soon as we get off this call is you need to call Chuck, or I can have him call you, whichever you prefer. And I'm going to ask Chuck to turn you into a cash buyer. I'm going to have him explain different loan products to you. I'm going to have him get you fully pre-approved, and I'm going to have him get me a pre-approval letter. So when we go out and we look for property, I've got that in hand, and we can make an exceptionally strong offer in the event that we're in a competition with somebody else. or some version of that. I'm just spitballing here. I'm pulling that, out of my hip pocket right now in the moment, but some cleaned up version of that. It does make sense. Like they don't want to have to track you down. It's just that they're not organized. So you need to coach them on the importance and the value of getting that client to you as soon as they talk to them so you can put them in that enviable position and they have their pre-approval letter. I'm preparing for my presentation in Las Vegas at the end of this month. And Ricky will hear me talk about this because he's going to be there. I remember vividly, I was playing golf at a place called the Ojai Valley Inn 20 years ago with a realtor partner of mine. His name is Jerry Michaels. And he was about ready to hit a shot. And he looked at me and he said, "You know what I love that you do?" And I said, "What's that?" He goes, "I love that you get a pre-approval letter to me before I even know that you've talked to the person." And I said, "Say more." And he said, every time I work with another loan originator and I've got to call them on a Saturday because I've got a person in my conference room, I'm trying to write an offer, and it takes them 3 hours to get back to me because they're at their kid's softball game or whatever it is. It reminds me of you. I never have to do that with you because you always get me a pre-approval letter. Half the time, I don't even know that you've talked to the client yet. I give them your number. Next thing I know, the next day, I've got a pre-approval letter from you. So now I have it in my file and I don't need to find you. I mean, that's what realtors ultimately want. They're just not organized. So Chuck, in closing, what I would say is, again, be proactive to eliminate reactivity. You're reacting to this realtor's lack of efficiency, but you need to give the realtor a compelling reason as to why they need to get you connected with that client immediately so you can give them exactly what you know that they want so they don't need to track you down. Let me check in with you and ask you, is this helpful?
Yes. And part of my question was not just that. I think
Okay.
more of it has to do with doing the stuff you said at the beginning to get to that next level, not doing the processing yourself, which
Okay.
I know I'm, involved in a lot of that
Yep.
per se, right?
Yep.
That's
So tell
the
me your
time
team. So
consumption.
Chuck, what's your team? Tell me two things. How many loans a month are you doing on average? And what's your team structure currently?
I probably do 6 or 7 approximately on
Good
average,
job. Congratulations. That's great. And
but
that's
I'm
outstanding.
I'm
What's
doing
your,
a lot of that.
okay, but I understand you are. And you probably have the peak and valley syndrome like this, right? 1 month you're funding 8, and the next month you're funding 4, and the next month you fund 7, next month you fund 2. Because the months that you're funding the 8 and the 7, you're so immersed in your files, you're not originating new loans for future business. But if we could get rid of you being in the files and you were constantly originating new loans, you'd be at 15. I've seen it a million times and it happened with me. So what's your team structure? Do you have your own processor or do you share a processor?
Oh, I definitely share a processor,
Okay, you share a
and
processor.
share an assistant as well.
Okay, so we need to get rid of the sharing as soon as we can. That's just the bottom line. You want to control your service platform. You're affected, all of you that are sharing, and I realize that you're sharing because maybe you don't feel that you have enough volume to have your own. But when you're sharing people on your service platform, you're being affected by the inefficiencies of other loan originators. Let's just hypothetically say that you and I are sharing a processor, Chuck, and I have a good month and I originate 5 loans and 3 of them have 15-day closings and my hair's on fire and I'm breathing down our mutual processor's neck and that processor's feeling the pressure and they're putting all their focus on my loans. Whose service is suffering? Your service is suffering.
Bye.
Right? So here's what I would rather have. And I don't know within the structure of your company if this is possible, but what I would rather have is this, and this is what I did as an originator. As soon as you can hire your own processor, that's your first hire. And that processor can do more for you than just process. That processor can lock your loans. That processor can review the application when somebody uploads it to the portal. That processor can send the documentation checklist of the things that they need from the borrower. That processor, if they're funding 6 loans a month, probably has the capacity to act as both your processor and your personal assistant slash LOA, transaction coordinator, whatever the title is that you want to give to the person. So I hired my own processor back in 1994. That was my first full-time hire. And I had her do all kinds of things for me. I had her drop off marketing materials to my real estate offices when she was slow. I had her double and triple in different capacities. But the key is, Chuck, you're doing great, bro. 6, 7 loans in this market is fantastic. What I want you to do is I want you to double down on you. getting as much of the things off your plate that you could pay somebody 25, 30, $40 an hour so you can go out and work on three, $400 money making activities every day, all day long. You're not going to be doing 6 anymore. You're going to be doing 16. And you're going to have not only your own processor, then you're going to hire a transaction coordinator, and then you're going to hire another processor. I mean, it'll just grow from there. And again, I mean, I've coached people into this model for 20 years, so I know that it works, and it worked for me as well. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
what would it look like? Just paint a picture for you and for everybody. What would your life look like if you had your own processor that was really good? Like this person had experience, they knew what they were doing, they knew how to break down a file better than you knew how to break down a file. It's not, Chuck, only the fact that you would have more time to go originate more loans. It's bigger than that. It's that you would have the confidence and the lack of fear to go originate more loans. See, that's the big thing, is the fear. Because what we're dealing with all the time is we're worried. Is everything okay back there? Did we get that appraisal review in yet? Did that loan get approved yet? Did we get cleared to close? You know, did they have any questions about their CD? Did they sign their docs? We're worried about so many things all day long that are mentally distracting us away from the things that we need to be focused on. But if you had somebody that you totally trusted, that had displayed to you time and again, like this person's on it, you'd be able to surrender. So I'm going to get to Austin in a second, but I think it was Drake who mentioned earlier about the spiritual psychology piece. So I'm going to give you a little bit of insight there, okay, as to how this works. So underneath control, and that's what we're talking about here. You're trying to control, when you're immersed in the file, you're trying to control, okay? Underneath control is always fear, 100% of the time. Without fear, there would never be a need to control. The antithesis of fear and control is trust and surrender. So what if you had someone that you trusted so much to where you could just surrender and go, I don't need to worry about it. Like, in fact, I know that this person's on top of it. I'm just going to go out and make it rain more. That's what you need. That needs to be your goal. That's what you need to be shooting for. I hope that was helpful for you, Chuck.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, buddy.
That
Good
was
job on
that was
good job on
amazing.
this. I don't know who said that, but thank you. Austin, over to you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And I think I'm not sure if this is a mindset I really need. I wanted to hear your thoughts on this because I've been running Ricky's production side with like gathering documentation, sending pre-approval, reviewing the file, him and everything. And as far as the pre-approval piece, like one of my biggest fears, I would say, is sending a pre-approval without documentation and then the documentation coming in and what they said doesn't line up with the documentation they sent.
Sure.
So would you say like it depending on the client or like depending on the conversation, it would be okay to send the pre-approval like just out the gate or kind of take it on a case by case situation? Because I sending a pre-approval and then them going under contract without the documentation and then having to structure or have those conversations or deny
Yeah,
the
no, I
loan, whatever
understand.
the case may
I'm
be.
tracking with you. I got it. I got it. Okay. So
Yeah.
here's the thing. Your case by case is the key thing. Okay. So that's really well articulated. So if I'm talking to you in my initial dialogue and I'm the originator and I'm like, do you know what your credit score is? And you say, yeah, we ran a credit report 3 months ago and it was 802. And I say, have you bought anything since then? And you say, no. And then I say, how much money do you make? And you're a W-2 employee and your back end ratio is 32% and you're putting 20% down. I'm going to give you a pre-approval letter. Like there's no
Mhm.
ticking time bombs here. Have you been married before? Okay, great. There's no child support. You ever filed bankruptcy? No. You have an 802 credit score. Obviously you didn't. There's no ticking time bombs. Like I'm going to go ahead and put my brand out on the line to provide great customer service, and I'm going to put a pre-approval letter together. Different from a full-blown approval, right? I mean, and I want to make that clear. Like this is a pre-approval letter. This is an opinion letter, like an attorney opinion letter based upon a thorough assessment Okay. Now, if I'm talking to you and you're telling me that you've got, you're in outside sales and you're base plus commissions and that, you're not really sure what your credit is, then I'm going to gather more data because you could have 2106 non-reimbursed business expenses that I got to, that I got to hit you on your back end ratio with. I don't know what your credit looks like. You sound like you might be a little bit unsure yourself. Then I'm going to say to the client, look, I really want to issue a full blown approval to you and to turn you into a cash buyer and create the highest amount of leverage possible in negotiations. But in order to do that, we need to do some work here together. And I'm not going to charge you anything for my time to do it. My team and I are going to work up your file. I'm going to give you a very concise list of what I need to get you fully approved. We need to be on this right away. Like, I need it back in 24 hours because I need to get you into that fully approved status. Okay. So it's a little different conversation depending upon the circumstances.
So, Tim, one of the things I think we run into in Arizona is we have a little bit different. When we issue a pre-qual, it's more detailed than that because Arizona has their own form that's basically part of the real estate contract that agents have to have. That's what they're asking for. They're not asking for a summary letter. Hey, it looks good based on what they told me, which is never the same as what reality is, especially with variable income these days. It's a killer. So I would
Yeah, if
I would
that's the
run
case,
into an issue with that. Only that, boy, your agents would be severely pissed off if you gave them a
okay,
pre-qual and then
but listen, Chuck, if that's the case,
you actually check those boxes.
Yeah, you go to option 2 that I gave you. You explain that to the client.
Yeah.
Listen, we're in the state of Arizona, and here's how it works in the state of Arizona. In order for me to issue a full-blown approval and to check those boxes with integrity, there's certain documentation that I need to collect from you to put you in full-blown approval status. And we need to get on this right away. You need to create urgency. You need to give them the reason why. We're in a competitive market. I see people lose out on offers all the time because they're not fully approved. Even if they're the highest bidder, sometimes they don't get the property because the borrower that is actually a rock solid borrower gets the property. I want to put you in that enviable position. I need you to work with me on that. And you create urgency for them. And then you just collect all the documentation and you get them fully approved. If that's how you have to play ball in Arizona, then that's how I'd play ball in Arizona.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. That helps a lot.
You're very welcome. Anybody else? Let me give you guys a quick update here. At last count, we have 3 people that have said that they were in. And Chuck, you had said you're in for 149. At this point, we're not at 149. We're at 249. So we would need like 10 more people to get to the 149. So I don't know if that takes you off the table or not. So we either have 3 or 2 people. So I don't know if anybody else is interested, but you would want to indicate so while we're on this call, just so we can kind of get an accurate count. With that said, let's go back to your questions. And I can spend about another 12 minutes with you. And at the bottom of the hour, I think I need to bounce. Who else can I help here?
So I'm working on growing my brand beyond just like the transactions. I've been training agents, doing CE classes. I've been building systems and AI tech tools for like speeding things up and investing. So how would you structure your time and visibility to turn that into influence without losing focus on the production side of things?
Excellent question. Excellent.
Tim, just real quick, this is the guy I was telling you about.
Got it. CJ, nice to meet you. Excellent question. Now we're going to get into another topic that's in the Atlas in great depth and detail, which is time management. Okay. So let's establish something. And I want everybody, if you can hang on, because this is going to be super valuable to you. Time management's a really misleading term in my mind. Okay. We're not managing time. We all have the same amount of it. We have 24 hours every day. What we're managing is where we choose to spend our time. So what we're really talking about is choice management. That's the question you're really asking, CJ, is where do I allocate? Like, how do I choose with the precious hours that I have of where I'm going to put my energy? Okay. Where I'm going to focus my time. So what can be really helpful. So the greatest thing that inhibits time management is the F word, fear. Okay. So when people are like bouncing around and chasing shiny objects, which I'm sure that some of the people on this call can relate to that, like I'm starting and stopping and I get seduced into going here and I get seduced. If you slow all of that down, if you just slow it down and say, what's happening here? Like what's going on between the ears? It's always fear. I got to go do this because I'm worried that if I don't, something bad will happen, or somebody will be upset with me, or I'll be letting somebody down. Okay. That's what's always running underneath the surface in those 60 to 80,000 thoughts that we have every day. So how do we get the reins on this wild horse that's running on between our ears? Well, we create some structure. Now to your question, CJ, so with that as the backdrop. So what I would do with what you had articulated is now, actually, I'm going to tell you a quick story because I think that this story really is very valuable to this conversation. So recently, I was in Italy for 3 weeks in April. And while I was there, my intention was to work, but I'm on a 9-hour time difference. So something really magical happened that occurred to me there. So I structured my calendar in a way to where, like, basically at 5 in the afternoon in Italy, which is 8 a.m. in the West Coast of the United States, I would have my calendar open and I'd schedule appointments from about 5 in the afternoon until about 9 o'clock at night. Then I'd go have dinner because you eat late in Italy anyway. Then I'd go to bed and I'd wake up the next morning and basically I'd have my whole day free. From like 9, 10 in the morning when I wake up until 5 o'clock in the afternoon, everybody's asleep. So I've got nobody texting me. I got nobody emailing me. I got nobody calling me. And guess what happened? I got way more work done in the time that I had there than I ever get done here. Why? Because I wasn't being interrupted. I wasn't being, as I say metaphorically, taken off the freeway. And that's a metaphor that I won't get into, but I was on point and I had a free day and I would work when I chose to work. And I started pondering this and going, wait a minute, like how much of this time management thing is a story? How much is it me making things that are important that really aren't that important? Because I was able to get everything done in a lot less hours because I didn't have the interruptions. So interruptions are the key for you, CJ. So here is the suggestion. I would schedule, and I don't know how much time you need. You'd have to assess that for yourself. I would schedule and start practicing what I call on time. Have you ever heard the term? So on time is working on your business and not in your business. So you have these projects, and I can relate because that's my life. Like I have tons of big projects that I need focus time to be working on. So these projects for these CE courses and the AI adoption and all this kind of stuff, I would block chunks of time that are non-negotiable in your calendar where you're focused, head down, working on those things. So let's just hype that. And by the way, it can be super helpful because of the fear word to do that in the morning. Because if the time that you're blocking, and I used to do on time religiously as an originator, every month, and I would block it for a whole year. So in January, I would schedule all of my on time for the rest of the year, and it would be one day a month for 6 hours. So let's just call it the final Thursday of every month. From 10 a.m. until 4 p.m., I would leave my office and I would go to an offsite location. I would go to the local Barnes and Noble or Borders Books, quiet place. I would turn my phone off. I would put my auto responders on, which will quell the fear-based mind because people are being notified. I'm not in the office until 4 p.m. I'll be returning emails and phone calls at that time. So I don't have to worry about whether somebody's wondering when I'm going to get back to them because I'm proactively communicating to them to quell the fears of like, are they going to be mad at me? Okay. And I would go work head down for 6 hours every single month. If you gave yourself 6 hours every month to be solely focused on working on your business instead of in your business, what might happen over the next 12 months in terms of you being able to get some significant projects accomplished? So in my world today, CJ, it's a bit different. I have more projects than that. So I block huge chunks of time all the time. I'm always looking at my calendar like 4 to 6 weeks ahead. Like if you looked at my calendar right now, you would see block, like 3 hours here, 4 hours there. And that would be for me to work on curriculum for my retreat that I'm doing or content that I'm creating for the Loan Atlas or whatever. And that block time is sacred time. Everybody in my world knows that if my calendar says block, I'm working on something important and I'm not going, and to the park and swinging on the swing set. Okay. I mean, I'm doing something that's going to really move the needle for the business, but I do it in the mornings, preferably, because that gives me the time in the afternoons to catch up on my emails, return my phone calls. I don't have to worry about whether or not there's something pending that's important that I didn't get to. I don't suggest blocking time in the afternoons because then the mind is going to get active and start wondering, is there anything I need to tend to before the day is over, before everybody goes home? So I would block, it could be 1 day a week, it could be 2 days a week. I don't know what you need, but I would start practicing blocking periods of time, and it's non-negotiable. And you got to let everybody in your world know that, hey, when I have time blocked, I'm working on these important projects, so I can't be interrupted. I check in with you and ask you if that would be helpful and if you do anything like that right now.
Yeah, no, that's super helpful. I do something similar, but I do allow myself to get derailed a lot. Like I don't let everyone in my world know. So it's like I will jump off of it to get onto whatever pops in just because of that fear-based thing exactly that you were talking about.
Yeah, so bro, here's what you need to do is you need to form agreements. It may be that you're working off of assumptions, and they're very different. Agreements versus assumptions. So literally going to everybody that would be potentially interrupting of you. So I went to my team back when I was an originator and I said, look, I'm going to be going to these offsite locations once a month. And I want to have an agreement that the only time that you can interrupt me, and you would have to literally get in your car because my phone's going to be turned off and you have to drive 10 minutes to the Barnes and Noble, which you have free reigns to do, is if it's truly an emergency. Otherwise, I'll be back online at 4 o'clock. Can we make and establish that agreement? And they did, and they were great about it. And I, everybody that needed to know where I was knew. And like I said, my autoresponders were on. And then that way I'm not having this mental dialogue about something bad's happening, right? But you need to form those agreements with your direct reports and the people that you report directly to. And you need to give them a justification and say, hey, during these periods of time, I'm not available because I'm working on important things that are going to really help the organization grow.
Helpful. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, bro. Thank you for the great question. All right. So, first of all, it's a pleasure to be with all of you. Thank you for your time and your presence. And most of you stayed on for the full hour and a half, which I'm really grateful for. That means a lot to me. I'd love to have an opportunity to continue coaching you. I know the Loan Atlas faculty feels the same way. It looks like we have, at last count, like 5 of you now. 1, 2, 5 or 4, depending upon Chuck. But I'm going to check in here with Ricky. Is there anything that you wanted to add, bud? I see you on camera there.
Yeah, I just got to the doctor's office, so I wanted to make sure I heard everything. No, this was +1 what I thought it was going to be. So you bring it, and man, I appreciate it. I did get several messages outside of this asking me to talk to them about the Loan Atlas, so I'm going to do that. So there's probably 4 or 5 more that are going to be on top of what messaged in here. So.
Did you capture Ricky, did you capture the people that are on the message in here, or would you like me to do that instead?
No, I was driving. I haven't. No.
I'll write it down right now. And
I figured it would be in the recording.
Yeah, but I'll just write it down and send it to you as well. And then that way you have it. And then and then we'll circle the wagons on whoever else is interested that you might know of, and then we'll see where we land on pricing, and we'll get everybody signed up.
Absolutely.
By the way, one other thing for everybody, I didn't mention this. For those of you that become Loan Atlas members, it's super important that you do the orientation call with our team. We want to walk you through the site. We want to get you set up on a learning path. We want to make sure that you hit the ground running. It's about a 45-minute to 1-hour orientation call where we will kind of get you set up with your profile and all that kind of stuff. Make sure you get some of those live calls scheduled in your calendar. We want you to have momentum right away, and we want to start helping you. So know that we'll be reaching out to you, and make sure that you make it a priority to get that call scheduled, okay? Thanks
awesome,
so much,
man.
everybody.
Thank you, Tim.
It's a pleasure to be with you. Hope to see you soon.
Appreciate you. See you in Vegas.
You got it, buddy. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.